We're now going to be dropping rows and columns with the dropna method. So here's our data set. We're going to call dropna, and by default, it's going to find any row that has any missing value in it and drop that row. Okay, so you might think it should work column-wise. Well, it is going through every column at one time, looking for missing values. If there is a missing value in a particular row, then it's going to drop that row. So yeah, it's a little confusing, but there's only two directions. So if you don't get it on the first try, then you'll get it on the second try. So drop NA with the defaults will drop rows, keeps all the columns. So it's kind of hard to see what happens here. It does tell you how many rows are left. The columns stay the same. So it can help here to just see the shape of this. So 4,900 rows, 21 columns. After we call drop NA, we'll have 3,700 rows and the same column. So you're guaranteed that all of these rows have all known values. There are no missing values in these 3,700 rows. You can, now that you know how to do that, you can verify this and see that, are there any missing values? No, they're all 0. All right, so what you can do here, you can have a little bit more control. So let's say we only want to drop rows where there are missing values in one particular column. And the way you do this, you press Shift Tab Tab, you see this subset. So now I'm going to let this subset equal to, I'm going to make it a list of all the columns I want to look at. So you can make it just one column. So this is only going to look at the year column. It's going to drop rows in that year column. So you notice there are still missing values over here. So there will still be missing values, but there will be none in the year column. And we can just go ahead and see the shape. So there's 4,810. You can have a list over here. You can say year and duration. So just a few more in the duration that don't have missing values. So that's another way of using it. There's also a thresh parameter. So this is pretty interesting. You can do drop NA. So notice there's a thresh parameter. You go down here, you give it an integer of the number of non-missing values that it must have. So this is the threshold that it must have. So say thresh equals, we could say 18. So we need every row to have at least 18 non-missing values. So there's 21 rows or 21 columns. So 18 of those 21 need to be filled. And if it has less than 18, then it will be dropped. So you can see here that there's, I guess there's 49, so only about 150 or so rows were dropped here. The others have 18 or more. So, not necessarily a use case in this particular data frame, but you might have data frames where you're getting like every column is a grade of a student, every row is a single student, and you want to see like who has 18 out of 21 assignments turned in or something like that. So this can come in handy over there. All right, let's move down over here. So drop NA does have an access parameter, and by default it is set to 0, but we can set it to 1, and the way this will work is it'll drop entire columns that have one or more missing values. So it's going to keep the same number of rows, right? But it's only going to keep the columns that have no missing values. So over here, now there's only 3 columns where there are no missing values. You can use the threshold here again. So we want, you have to give an integer. So it would make more sense if it was like a percentage, but you could say, all right, I want all rows where there are all columns where there are at least 4,800 non-missing values. So here you can see there's 17 columns that have at least 4,800 non-missing values. So you can use that argument over there as well. So drop NA becomes more interesting with the subset and the thresh, arguments like that. Okay, so that is how drop NA works on a data frame.